Hello again. Um, this is the last lesson of the chapter of personal hygiene and strategies. In previous lessons, we learned the types of hygiene skills and how to assess the hygiene skills and also teaching strategies. We learned lots of things. I know it's like messy information in your mind. But in this lesson, we will combine all this information in one specific hygiene skill. This hygiene skill will be hand washing, and in this lesson, we learn how to conduct and how to prepare a teaching plan of hand washing. Of course, that could be another personal hygiene skills, but today we will just focus on the hand washing. I hope that end of the lesson, you using a sample case, you will explain how to select hand washing skills for instruction. You will describe how to conduct the skill analysis for hand washing. You will explain how to assess a student's performance level in hand washing skills. You will describe which training procedure will be determined for teaching hand washing skills. You will explain how to set long-term and short-term goals in the instructional planning of hand washing skills. You will explain how prompts will be determined in teaching hand washing skills. You will explain how to utilize types of cues in teaching hand washing skills. You will describe how to implement environmental arrangements in teaching hand washing skills. You will explain how to select and apply the appropriate teaching method in teaching hand washing skills. You will explain how to monitor the child's development in teaching hand washing skills. You will describe how to generalize hand washing skills, and you will explain how to ensure the maintenance of hand washing skills. There is a long list here, but don't afraid of this long list. You know many things about it. I just want to show you all this information in just one specific hygiene skill. Okay, let's start to our example. This is our student, Deniz. Deniz is 10 years old. He is fourth grade student in a special education school, and his diagnosis is intellectual disability. In this lesson, we learn how to teach hand washing skill for Deniz. Okay. To teach something like personal hygiene skill or other skills, they all have same components in the teaching plan. These are deciding the skill, task analysis, long-term goal and short-term objectives, prompt, reinforcement, arrangement of the environment, teaching method, monitor the child's development, generalization, and maintaining. You, as a special education teacher, you should use all these components in your plan. And in this case, in this example scenario, our teacher will use these all components during the preparing the teaching plan. Okay, let's start with deciding the skill. This is the first step of teaching plan. As you can remember from our previous lessons, we learned how to select a correct skill for students with intellectual disabilities. There are 3 different ways, as you can remember: naturalistic observation, developmental assessment, and prerequisite skill. In our example scenario, this teacher this new teacher, realized that Deniz doesn't wash his hands before lunch and after the lunch, or after art classes, or some necessary times. So in this times, when teacher asks to Deniz that, Deniz, please wash your hands, Deniz doesn't do it. One day, this teacher bring Deniz to bathroom and say that, please wash your hands, but Deniz doesn't do it. And she understands that Deniz doesn't know how to wash his hands. So there could be some problem here. Maybe Deniz know it, how to wash his hands, but maybe he doesn't prefer to do it at school. So this is the possibility. That's why reason teacher decide to ask his mother, and then call his mother and ask her, does Deniz wash his hands at home? And mother answer this question like, no, he can't wash his hands, so I do it on behalf of the Deniz. So teacher realized that this is Deniz doesn't know how to wash his hands. This is this is about the naturalistic observation. Okay. The second one is developmental assessment. With developmental assessment, teachers can see easily when some skills can learn, and according to assessment firms, typical students with typically development learn hand washing skill at age of around 4 years old. So, but Deniz is 10 years old, so he is little old for learning this skill. So this is very emergence for him. So Deniz should learn it. And also hand washing is a prerequisite skill. Hand washing is the basic of many personal hygiene skill. So Deniz has some other problems, other hygiene problems. So it's not just hand washing and maybe nail clipping and bathing, showering. So because of that, hand washing is critical personal hygiene skill for Deniz. So this is prerequisite skill, because that's why teacher decide that Deniz should learn it. And second component is task analysis. After deciding the skill, teaching is not beginning immediately. Firstly, teacher should decide and assess the child's performance, so that teacher can teach effectively for Deniz. As you can remember, to assess the child's performance, at first teacher should make task analysis. I mean, this is hand washing skill here, so that means teacher should analyze the hand washing. As you can remember, 3 different ways to task analysis: observing a competence, consulting with experts, and performing the skill oneself. Actually, this first two method is not suitable for hand washing, because hand washing is not so complicated and so special skill. So teacher doesn't need to observe a person or consult with expert. You know, and everybody can do this skill. So that's why teacher decide that she performed the skill herself, then note all the steps. And these are steps. You can remember this table from the other lessons. As you can see on the table, there are steps here. And to assess the Deniz performance, teacher go to the bathroom with Deniz and ask him that, please wash your hands. And in this situation, teacher observed that Deniz cannot turn on water, Deniz cannot hands in water, Deniz cannot pump soap, rub hands, rinse hands, turn off water. But Deniz can get paper towel and dry hands, but Deniz cannot throw away paper towel. It means that Deniz needs to learn this first 6 steps and the 9 steps, but Deniz doesn't need to learn 7th and 8th steps. Okay, this is the beginning performance of Deniz. This is the 22%. And after that, after assess the Deniz hand washing performance, teacher should also decide the chaining procedure. As you can remember, there are 3 different chaining procedure: backward chaining, forward chaining, and total test chaining. Which chaining procedure is good for Deniz? This is very critical moment here. Actually, this depends on the Deniz learning style and Deniz learning needs. Deniz is slow learner. Deniz cannot learn everything immediately. They all are very complicated for him. So so teacher should focus on just one small step or just one small piece in every single lesson, in every single learning session. So total test chaining in this situation, total test chaining is not good for Deniz. It doesn't fit for Deniz learning style. But what about backward chaining and forward chaining? Deniz, another problem is Deniz cannot wait until end of the skill. So Deniz want to make something at the beginning. He likes this, and he can't wait until end of the skill. So that's why backward chaining is not good for Deniz. And the best option is forward chaining here. As you can remember, in forward chaining, teacher should focus on just one step in one lesson. And this is the, and teacher should start from the first step to last step, according to forward chaining. Okay, and teacher decided forward chaining is the best option. And another component is the long-term goal and short-term objectives. We didn't learn this subject in our previous lessons, but teacher should decide the goals in the planning. So there are two different kind of objectives and goals: long-term goal and short-term objectives. Long-term goal is about learning hand washing, all steps. Okay, and this sentence is Deniz will wash his hands independently. But Deniz cannot learn hand washing skill immediately. So Deniz can learn just small step in every single lesson. That's why we have to divide the goal, this big goal, this long term goal. But how can we do it? In this situation, we have to see the table here. Then we have to consider the Deniz performance. As you can see here, Deniz can do step 7 and step 8. Deniz doesn't need any help or any prompt or any teaching activity in this steps, but other steps Deniz needed. So all steps are one short-term objective. For example, the first short-term objective is Deniz will turn on the water to wash his hands 100% independently when they get dirty. As you can see here, this sentence is little different from the long-term goal. In short-term objectives, we have to say four components: individual, behavior, condition, and criterion. Individual is Deniz. Behavior is, for example, for the first short-term objective, turn on the water. Condition is when they get dirty, and the criterion is 100%. And as you can see, all steps are one short-term objectives. Because why is that? Because we select the forward chaining, and according to forward chaining, we have to focus just one single step in every single lesson. That's why our short-term objectives are like this. After deciding the long-term and short-term objectives, we have to also decide the prompt. Which prompt should we use during the teaching session? As you can remember, there are different kind of prompts. Some prompts are some prompts are like student doesn't need so much help, but some of them are very intensive. So in special education, it doesn't mean that the most intensive prompt is the best one. No, this is not true. We have to decide the prompt according to child's needs. How can we do it? We will try all prompts, and we will start from the gestures. Gestures are the lightest one, and physical is the very toughest and very intensive prompt. This teacher firstly try the gestures to teach hand washing, and Deniz cannot learn gestures. For example, the teacher show the tap or show the soap, but Deniz cannot understand these gestures. And then teacher decide to use visuals and she prepares some pictures, but and show the pictures and ask Deniz that please follow the pictures, but Deniz couldn't do the skill. And then teacher try on verbal prompt, and teacher say like turn on water, rinse your hands, but Deniz couldn't do it. Deniz couldn't the steps. And then teacher try on model prompt. For example, she said that Deniz that Deniz, please watch me. Then you will repeat what I did. And for example, teacher shows Deniz how to turn on water or how to rinse the hands. Then ask Deniz, please do it like me. And in this situation, Deniz can do it. So model prompt is the best one for Deniz. What about physical prompt? Deniz doesn't need it because model is okay. Model prompt is okay for Deniz. So physical prompt is not necessary for Deniz. Sometimes people have some confusion about selecting the prompt. Sometimes physical prompt is the best one. Sometimes people think like this, but this is not true. So the best prompt is the best prompt that the child's meet the child's needs, child's educational needs. After designing the prompt, also teacher should focus on the reinforcement. There are two different things about reinforcement. This is very long subject. We don't have time to teach for reinforcement subject, but I'm sure that you know what it means. So firstly, teacher should decide which type of reinforcement that the Deniz needs. And teacher can observe or ask Deniz or try some reinforcers, and then in this scenario, in this example here, the best reinforcer is the verbal reinforcer for Deniz. But the second thing that teacher should consider is the frequency. Deniz, this is about the students' motivational needs. Deniz have some motivational problems, so that's why he needs the reinforcers all the time. That's why teacher decide to continuous reinforcement. What does it mean? It means that teacher will give the reinforcer in every single attempt and in every single lesson and every single learning session. Okay, but be careful. You shouldn't use the reinforcers all the time. You should decrease the reinforcers gradually. And another component is arrangement of the environment. Environment has 3 components: time, place, and material. Firstly, teacher should decide when to teach this skill. Hand wash, actually in special education, we want to teach something for students in naturalistic ways and natural times. For example, if your student, if Deniz's student, I'm sorry, if Deniz's hands are clean, it's not good time for teaching hand washing. If Deniz's hands are dirty, it's good for this is the best time to teach hand washing skill. So in this situation, teacher should consider two different times for teaching and for assessment. Before and after lunchtime and after art classes are the best times for teaching. And also, after every single teaching session, teacher also should assess the Deniz performance. And this assessment time is the end of the last lesson in this scenario. And also, teacher should consider the place where to teach this skill. Of course, school bathroom is the best place, but some classrooms have some tap and towel and soap. And if there is a tap in your class, of course you can teach this skill in your class. But generally, teachers teach the hand washing skills at school bathroom. And the third one is material. Which materials should teacher should use? Of course, hand washing is not so complicated skill. So this tap, soap, and towel are necessary, and these materials are available at the school bathroom. So it's not necessary the another extra material. And seventh component is teaching methods. As you can remember, we learned that there are many teaching methods, and we learned some of them. And of course, there are more than we learned. For Deniz, Lean modeling is the best one because Deniz can learn with model prompt. So Lean model is the teacher, of course, is the best one for Deniz. And in this scenario, teacher will show the step how to do it, then ask Deniz to do it like teacher. And eighth component is monitor the child's development. This is very important because this helps you to plan and teach right skills in every single time. Okay, let's say that in first day you assess your students' performance, and this is the performance of the Deniz, 22%. A teacher wants to make it 100%. What does it mean? It means that Deniz will learn all steps. In the first day, this is the first day column. In the first day, teacher focus on teaching just first step, because forward chaining is a chaining procedure for teaching hand washing skill. So teacher just focus on to teach turn on water. That's it. And end of the lesson, teacher, actually, in teaching session, teacher prompt students, and then it's not possible to see the students development on this skill, because when you give the prompt, student have some hints. So assessment sessions are so important. After teaching, on the assessment session, teacher asks student, for example, turn on water, but doesn't give any prompt. If the child can do this do this step, it means that okay, Deniz learned it. And according to table, as you can see here, Deniz learned it. And the next day, teacher understands that, okay, I can move on the next step, hands in water. In the next day, teacher focus on the on teaching hands in water. And after teaching sessions, in assessment session, teacher didn't give any prompt and just ask Deniz, please, hands in water. And Deniz do it independently without any prompt. This is great. He learned it. And teacher understand that next day I can teach the pump soap. I mean the step 3. And in next day, this is here. Next day, teacher focus on teaching pump soap. But end of the teaching sessions, when teacher assessed Deniz couldn't do it, couldn't pump the soap. It means that teacher should focus on teaching pump soap in the next day. And as you can see here as a green box, next day teacher teach again pump soap. And after teaching sessions, teacher assess the Deniz performance. Deniz can do it without any prompt or without any help. And it goes like this. And as you can see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. After 8 days, he learned all steps. You can see the child's performance like this, and also you can see the Deniz performance like on this graph. And this is very helpful also for students, especially when you ask when you show these graphs for students feel like, okay, I'm learning, there's a development here, and it's very this very helps students to gain their confidence, and they feel better when they see their improvements on the skill. So these graphs are so helpful for students. And the ninth component of teaching plan is generalization. As you can see before our previous lesson, there are 3 different generalization: material, environment, and individual. For hand washing, of course, there is a kind of tap in school bathroom, but actually there are different type of materials. So this teacher will continue to teach hand washing skill in different places and in different bathrooms. And also this teaching continues with parents and other people. And the ninth one is maintaining. Students like Deniz are like, they forget very quickly, unfortunately. So for this problem, you should repeat the skill all the time. So this teacher want to repeat this skill every day, and hand washing is the perfect skill for it, because we wash our hands for many times in a day and every day. And as you can see here in this calendar, this skill are taught, of course, at school, but teacher and Deniz parents have interaction, and they both focus on to teach every single day, or remember to Deniz, please wash your hands, or something like that. So with this activities, Deniz cannot forget how to wash his hands. And that's it. Thank you so much for joining our class. This is the last of the lesson. You're very welcome if you want to share your ideas, your feedback, or your experience with me. You can reach me via this email address, altin@sakarya.edu.tr. I'm very it would be great if you send your messages or share your feedbacks with me. Okay, thanks so much. Have a nice day.